always axiomatic, to people in previous centuries. Today, we always have to disclaim it, that just because we're looking at some of the nice stuff in Crowley or good, positive stuff, or in somebody or other, we have to disclaim it and say, I'm not, completely in agreement with everything. It's ludicrous for one has, have to say that, but in this world of liberalism, they claim to be into diversity and multiculturalism, all right, but they penalize you for a word out of place, so this is the kind of extraordinary sick world that we're in. And it's the same with Thomas Zasz. He's a little bit too left wing for me, but his work is priceless in other areas, and I'm not by all means in agreement with everything Ayn Rand said or Crowley. Crowley wrote some atrocious literature as well as some beautiful stuff. He was trying to be a pioneer in early erotica, I think, just to make money, because he was so broke, right? And his attempt at his fiction novels is a travesty. They're horrific. But just because of that, you don't then throw out a lot of this other work that on better days, when he wasn't on heroin, or when, he was a younger man or whatever. There's some really gems there. And it's absolutely preposterous to condemn somebody out of hand like that, because some of the greatest writers we've known, like D.H. Lawrence and, others out there, Dylan Thomas, who died of as a raving alcoholic, and others, these are accepted names. There's no controversy surrounding any of those people. And yet, they also have dark periods of their life. So to single out the people we talk about, focus in on something negative in their life, and then say, there you go, he must have been a Satanist, he must have been an evil man, when you don't know the first thing about anything he spoke of, is absolutely spurious. And I don't deal with people like that. I don't have any conversation with people like that. They can think in what they want, and we will deal with rational, conscientious people who don't put right wing, left wing, any of those are all secondary when you come to great thought. If history is the repository of the truth, then when you come at it, you have to be shoeless. It's like coming into the Holy of Holies. You've got to take your shoes off and bracket for a while these other divisions, of the person's personal life, so to speak, and see. And otherwise, the formula is this: if you don't, you will have no chance of gaining wisdom. It's off limits. It's absolutely impossible. You can't come to the archive of real wisdom if you have these prejudices. You just simply can't, and that shows. Look at the whole Christian movement. They're bankrupt. They're completely falling apart. Look at most of the structures that we have today of learning. They're no longer of learning. They're of partiality. You can't even get a PhD today unless you're, a complete left winger, right? Any mention of anybody's work who's a white Gentile Westerner, and you're failed. You see, but that's their failure. You see, their failure. They're taking down the statues of predecessors in America. What are you going to put in its place? Some fucking cave crawling shit, half a brain of these people who've just emulated Jacques Derrida. It's not even philosophy. It's not even real education at all. Yeah, well, that's what's replacing our world. You see, so we'll have no part of it. We're going to maintain an open mind and come to things. These used to be axiomatic. Open mind, leaving your prejudices at the door when you study the works of great people, and then discarding what you personally don't like. I thought this was all going to be normal, but today it's not what you like at all. This is the whole point of victimhood. It's what everybody else in your team and your peer group likes that you now like. It's a fashion statement, and therefore you're not really interested in the core knowledge itself. The people who watch this program are. The rest of the internet, no, they're not. They're all going off, in one direction. Because people, again, will take any political platform, whether it's right or left, in order to avoid the Siddhartha road. So politicizing the problems of the world, rather than psychologizing them or philosophizing them, is the classic ruse of the little man who's avoiding selfhood, so he'll join a clan. And you know something? It really doesn't matter if it's alt-right or right-wing or the opposite. Because if it's all based in I need to avoid selfhood, does it really matter then what flag they're flying? See, the answer is it doesn't, even though you might be focused on, I really support a lot of what that team is doing because I agree with it as well. But there's so much more to analyzing what's happening in the modern world today. This rise of the left also has happened in the Weimar Republic in Germany. When we do a whole thing on Germanophobia in Germany, we'll talk about how the left is always moved to be ultra because there's an attack on the right coming. And it's happened in Germany in the Weimar Republic. The whole of Bolshevik Russia, was established because of this idea to try and radicalize Germany so that Germany could be taken down in the Second World War. So, and that actually happened. So right now in America, the rise of the left now, and it's all over the place. Yeah, there's just something similar going on. They're wheeling this out again for not just the first or second, probably even the third or fourth time. So there's a whole conversation one can have there. But as I say, there's more perspectives than one can have. But the ultimate perspective to have is psychology. Man's avoidance of his own selfhood, man's desire to be the victim.
Yes, absolutely. And we're speaking a little bit about Carl Jung, and we've brought this up many times, but he said, you know, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And he just said, like, that's been said by all these great minds and everybody that's looked into this with any kind of honesty. They're going to come to that conclusion that there's an avoidance of selfhood, and there's a reason why. And I'm getting the idea that this is where we're going to be also going in this show to talk about this idea of mental illness. Is it really mental illness, or are these symptoms of the deeper problem of not having that whole-minded, a whole connection to your being? Because, like, if I read the definition of mental illness, it's pretty simple. It says mental illness refers to a wide range of mental health conditions, disorders that affect your mood, thinking, and behavior. Examples of mental illness include depression, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia, eating disorders, and addictive behaviors. Now, that's a general synopsis, but if you actually go into the psychological or the psychiatric literature, you should see the incredible amount. It's in the thousands of different categories of mental illness, and there's a new one all the time, like these new disorders that keep popping up. Oh, you have attention deficit disorder. No, it's a variation of attention deficit disorder. It's what was that one? It was authority. It was something to do with authority. Like the kids have a problem with authority. What was that? Oppositional defiance disorder. You've got all these disorders, and then the problem is instead of saying, well, maybe that kid doesn't have a disorder. Maybe they're just bored in school. Maybe they need more stimulation in nature. Maybe they need to get involved in a sport, or, hey, go sign up at your local karate club or something. Maybe their diet, you know, maybe
they just hate everyone and hate the teacher, but that's all wrong. That's all taboo, you see.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's so many reasons why. And then, but then when you classify it and say, well, no, what we're really classifying here is we have what we consider normal. And as we were talking about politically now, with the left taking control of academia and the media, and now that is like an ideology, that's a religious-like ideology that is now permeating Western culture. And it's got a lot of very spurious elements to it. That is now the norm. So what if you're not the norm? Well, now you're a Nazi. Now you're a bigot. Now you're a homophobe. Now you're all of these different things. And there's all these terms now. And it classifies it now into so many different categories. So just like they're classifying mental conditions in categories, now we're classifying friggin' gender into categories now. It's not as simple as just having a man and a woman anymore. We have how many different pronouns that you're supposed to refer to, a variety of categories of what it is to be a person now. And you now have gender fluidity. What's this phenomena that's just suddenly arisen? Where now, day one, I can be a man. Tomorrow, I want to be a woman. And you have to respect that and treat me with the same level of respect. Even though if you were to say, hey, one day I want to be a human and the next day I want to be a chicken, we'd be like, yeah, put that guy in the insane asylum. But no, this is now accepted behavior. So speaking of mental illness, what we're seeing, I think, is what you're saying. We are seeing this victim culture and these ideas that are now showing up in all kinds of symptomatic things. It has to do with our divorce from nature. It has to do with our divorce from, I think, even the fall of religion, even though there's many things to critique about it. But the one thing that it did bring was a consciousness towards morality. That's one thing that Christianity, you know, the good parts of it that were a big part of founding Western civilization was about the idea of morality and protecting the individual. That was what it was. But it later got turned into some other kind of nonsense. And because we have a lack of that, it got replaced with, okay, well, science and technology is going to save you. And, you know, Hollywood and all of that, that's going to be your new religion. Those are going to be your gods, your icons. But people are now lost. So when you have no base anymore, no healthy soil to fertilize, then of course you're going to see what we call mental illness. But really, it's the loss of self. So I'll let you take it from there, Michael.
Yeah, this assault on self is exactly what you say. Let's have many selves. I can be a woman. I can be a neutral, right? Whatever. Again, the assault on self is to fragment a concept of the biographical psychological self, and they've been very successful. Although I know they're experimenting as well. They're picking up every theory from every psychopath that's ever lived. And they're trying to. It could be Mao, it could be Lenin, it could be another more obscure thinker. But yeah, they're downloading this stuff from the Frankfurt School and from the Fabian Society. And they do it in a myriad ways, using probably the media is the number one way, because you know, they know that you command the attention of millions, and you're also bypassing the sort of rational circuitry of the brain. But it's also about selling something that you have to first of all have renounced, you know, or something that you kind of want to renounce, because your hand wouldn't move for the shit that they're giving you unless there was something deep inside that also colluded in the enslavement possible. So victimhood is not just about boot in the face. It's about your collusion. And that's one of the reasons that these thinkers that we're going to be talking about are B-listers and C-listers. They're that way because nobody wants to read them. People know how dangerous their work is. But rather than, and also if you've already caged yourself in, if your desire to escape selfhood has happened in the teens or the 20s, and then you become a born-again Christian, or you join the Mormons, or what, you know, ever boogaloo cult that's out there, there's no extrapolating from you. You know, I mean, there's no extracting you from that. That's why you can't converse with those people. They have locked themselves into the cages. They've given up the idea to think again. You know, and they're certainly not interested in alternative theories to the paradigm that they're involved in. You know, these B and C listers are interesting to me because their theories often shine whole new light on the people like these Einsteins and all, you know, that we consider the Darwin, you know, and the mainstream paradigms. These people shine light. Sometimes it's a devastating critique, and we need to know what they are, but based in the magical theory that you should always hold in your mind the alternative to your own decision.